Okay, back up a second. The landlord asked for 12 months of mortgage statements, which showed perfect payments, and a reference from their real estate agent who sold the farm, who confirmed that the property was kept in immaculate condition. So there again, it's a character reference, right? They were all approved and fantastic tenants, and they were probably really good humans too. But write this policy down so you don't treat everybody with no history as bad people, because that's not the case most of the time. However, there are some bad actors. What happens when things don't add up? Dates don't overlap. Dates overlap on the application. Pay stubs that look suspicious, like they were forged out of Word, or a landlord who answers the phone like, "What's up, bro?" It sounds exactly like the applicant's best friend. You never know. And that has happened to me, by the way. If you spot an inconsistency, give them a chance to clarify. Sometimes it's a genuine mistake. The other issue that I find is that when you're calling references and they don't call you back, what do you do? Well, what I do is I go back to the applicant and I say, I cannot move forward until I reach references for you. And I've left messages and I can't, until I can speak with them, we can't move forward. So I put it back on the applicant, not me. I'm doing the best I can. And if the references are busy or whatever, then they need to provide some different references if they still want the unit, right? So there is a bit of give and take here. Sometimes there is a legitimate typo, like they meant to put 2021 and they put 2022. But if it's deliberate, if it's a deliberate falsification, which I have gotten fake pay stubs, I've gotten fake IDs, how do you spot them, right? How do you absolutely spot them? One of the things that you can do is you just look at, is this a, does it have their legal name on it? Like a pay stub had their nickname on it. And I realized what they had done is they had gone into a paycheck generator that was just the pay calculator from the government, from Revenue Canada, and they'd put their name in. Well, they put their nickname in. And so what they were doing was doing a fake pay stub, like a fake remittance kind of thing, and they submitted that to me as a pay stub. Well, that's not okay, right? These are also the same people that when we actually got through all the way through to checking credit, and they had an outstanding balance of $30,000. And when I ended up talking with them about it, and I said, "What is this $30,000? What is it?" Because I was thinking they were going to say something like medical debt, or there was a death in the family, or something happened. And they said, "No, we just decided that we weren't going to pay this bill." Okay, well, that's not okay. Anyway. So rental history, providing false, misleading, or intentionally omitting information does not work. In fact, even in my website, in my criteria, I say if I find misleading information even after the lease is signed, I have grounds to cancel the lease. So behave. Tell me the truth, because that's happened too. So, but state it explicitly in your written criteria. This is what I would do. Providing false, misleading, or intentionally omitting information on the application will result in immediate denial. Make sure you've got some kind of criteria, and honestly, check with your local housing people, whether it's lawyers or your legal aid, or like in British Columbia residential tenancy branch. I call them often and I say, how does this sound for this? Is this discriminating? Can I have this? And they will say yes or no, right? So, on another example, I once heard of a landlord in Miami who received a pay stub that looked perfect until they noticed that the math didn't add up. The year-to-date gross income was lower than the pay period gross, meaning the amount that they had been paid for the whole year was less than the actual paycheck, which obviously doesn't add up. They called the HR department listed on the application, which again, you call it based on the number that you're finding in the public, not necessarily from the application or from what you think is a fake pay stub. And the company had never heard of the applicant. Now, depending on where you are, different companies can say different things. They may or may not confirm employment. But if there's any indication, you could go back to the applicant and say, "Look, this pay stub is not adding up." Or you can just say, "Look, I need a bank statement showing that this paycheck was actually deposited into your bank account, because something's not adding up here." If you start prying a little bit more, there's going to be a pushback. There's going to be either that or they're just ghost you, right? And then the application process is over, right? So, but immediate denial based on falsified documents. Oh my goodness, rental history, yikes. We've covered now the heavy hitters of tenant screening in this series: credit scores, income verification, background checks, and rental history, but finding the perfect applicant on paper is only half the battle. Next week, we're moving beyond the financial metrics to tackle the practical realities of landlording, asking the crucial question of whether a tenant's lifestyle actually fits your property's logistics. Join me for episode 5 of this series of 6 as we dive into handing more move-in timing miss. Oh, geez. Join me for episode 5 as we dive into handling move-in timing mismatches, establishing fair parking limits, navigating the complex differences between pet service animals and emotional support animals, and really the logistics of making sure that the unit is going to work for them and that you're going to be okay with signing an agreement with this person. I'm recording this episode today from Powell River, BC at our new RV park. If you want to see what we're building, check out pinetreecommunity.ca. Next week, in our aspect of screening deep dive, we're covering again the practical logistics of landlording. If you don't want to miss this, episode 231 of My Life as a Landlord. I'll see you there.